Today's chalice lighting words come from Pema Chodron, Widening the Circle of Compassion. To relate with others compassionately is a challenge. Really, communicating to the heart and being there for someone else, our child, spouse, parent, client, patient, or homeless woman on the street, means not shutting down on that person, which means, first of all, not shutting down on ourselves. This means allowing others to feel what we feel and not pushing it away. It means accepting every aspect of ourselves, even the parts we don't like. To do this requires openness, which in Buddhism is sometimes called emptiness, not fixating or holding on to anything. Only in an open, non-judgmental space can we acknowledge what we are feeling. Only in an open space where we're not all caught up in our own versions of reality can we see and hear and feel who others really are, which allows us to be with them and communicate with them properly.
May I be filled with loving kindness. May I be well. May I be filled with loving kindness. May I be well. May I be peaceful and at ease. May I be whole. May you be filled with loving kindness. May you be well. May you be filled with loving kindness. May you be well. May you be peaceful and at ease. May you be whole. May we be filled with loving kindness. May we be well. May we be filled with loving kindness. May we be well. May we be peaceful and at ease. May we be whole.
Hi everyone. Today I want to talk about listening. And specifically, I want to talk about listening to things that we don't say to each other. Have you ever been in a conversation with your family or your friends and thought about something that you were too afraid or too embarrassed to bring up? It happens to me a lot. When I was a teenager, I played the trumpet in my high school jazz band. But to be honest, when I first started, I didn't actually know that much about jazz. A lot of jazz music is improvised. It's different every time they play a song. I thought that the best jazz musicians improvised and were just entirely making things up when they played. But that's actually not the case at all. Jazz music is a conversation. It's a back and forth between the improviser and the rest of the band. The band sets the tone of the conversation, decides the rhythm, and decides the chord or what notes are going to sound best in the song. When I improvised as a trumpet player, I couldn't do whatever I wanted. I had to listen to the band, and I had to figure out how to answer back. To show you what I mean, I want to play you a clip of one of my favorite trumpet players, Miles Davis. In this song, called So What, I want you to listen to how the band starts the conversation with the melody and how Miles Davis answers back. That song's just beautiful. Jazz music is really about listening to what the band's saying. And like in a real conversation, it's about listening to what the band isn't saying. Miles Davis once said that in jazz music, it's not the notes that you play, it's the notes that you don't play. I want to play that clip of So What again, and this time I want you to really listen to what Miles Davis is choosing not to play. Where is he answering the band directly, and where is he changing things up? When does he choose to play the note just a little off, just to mix things up? And where does he stick with the chord? Here's that clip again. Everything he's not saying with his trumpet is also a choice. Just like everything that you say and everything that you don't say is a choice. Listening can mean more than hearing what someone says. It can mean listening to what they're not saying and why. Maybe the person has been mocked before for their opinion, or ignored when they spoke their mind. Maybe the conversation brings up difficult memories that they're not ready to talk about yet. Maybe they don't even know why there are notes that they won't play. What are the notes that you won't play? You probably won't know exactly what someone isn't telling you or why, and that's okay. Miles Davis showed us that when we listen to those unplayed notes, we can still answer back and we can have a conversation that's even more beautiful.
delizia della vida, arraigami, liberami, fuente de amor, ven a mí, ven a mí.
There's an episode of the television series 30 Rock where the character Lutz is demonstrating his listening skills by basically making listening faces. I can comfortably say that this is not what it means to listen deeply. One of the most remarkable aspects of what we're living into today is that more people are discovering how very important it is to listen to others and to understand the value of listening in our world and our lives. The question is, what tools can we all cultivate to be better listeners without formal training? Now, as you can imagine, I do a lot of listening. It's actually my great joy. Another great joy for me is recognizing our world not so much in crisis as it is in transformation. This flip in perspective, receiving our current world as evolving as opposed to imploding, is what sustains me right now. I want to believe that we are in a powerful and awesome learning curve, acknowledging that although this time is painful and catastrophic for some, if not most of us, it is also a time of total rebirth and renewal. To make sense of where we are is requiring the best of us and our most forward thinking. What we are living today is literally challenging everything we know. I've said it before and I'll say it many, many times again. The current situation of the coronavirus is revealing our greatest strengths and our greatest weaknesses. Listening, deep listening, is more valuable today than it has ever been. So it may sound like a disconnect, but I'm really aware of this when I think about the restaurant business. At several key moments in my life, I worked in food service. At the beginning of college, when I first lived in New York, and when I was a struggling actor in LA. It is work that I'm intimately familiar with and that I regard as being important and a place of pride, even though I was terrible at it. Yet, this time we are living through is making me wonder if maybe the food service industry in the US is too big. When I think about the fact that we don't actually pay restaurant workers a living wage, but rather expect them to earn it through tips and gratuities, and that this is the norm, I say, whoa, wait a minute. There's something wrong here. What's more, when I think of the number of folks who are working in food service in order to pay for totally different careers or education or to supplement other earning, I think to myself, why is this work disposable to some? Some of my dearest friends are career food service workers who have incredible pride and skill with what they do. It's not a survival job for them, but a real profession. They deserve better. I hope that what emerges from this pandemic is a transformed food service industry where working with people and food is well paid without being gratuity dependent, and where more waiters, bussers, chefs, and cleaners hold a stake in the enterprise and aren't just holding on for dear life at the whim of greedy owners. But I digress. As it turns out, being a waiter, even a bad one, as I was, taught me some pretty important lessons that are directly related to our theme for the month, deep listening. You can't be a waiter of any kind without being able to listen. Plus, as a waiter, and certainly in a tip-based world, the key to being successful, read profitable, is turning tables. You want your guests to have a good experience, but you also don't want them to linger so long over a meal that another group can't be seated. This requires balance and efficiency, and an engagement that is pleasurable enough for the guest, but energetic enough to keep them and their dining experience moving along. It's always a question of how invested you can afford to be in each table before it begins to work itself and your return on investment in time and energy. I've found that I have to ask myself this same question about deep listening as well, not in a commercial sense, but in the sense that listening has a threshold of quality that is partly related to how deeply one is willing to listen and how equipped someone is to do that kind of listening. The question becomes, how deep? When we think about deep listening, I think most folks come at it from the experience of having been or felt listened to. It's something that many of us have had the great pleasure, relief, etc. of feeling, to know that someone acknowledges what we're experiencing and that it matters. For the listener, there can never be any thought about turning tables, as it were. Certainly, those of us who are trained to listen are not thinking about quantity. We're absolutely thinking about quality. But, like a good waiter keeping their tables happy and humming, a good listener, professional or otherwise, has to make choices and serious considerations about just how deep they want or are capable of going. There are many aspects of deep listening that you can bring to how you do it, but I want to highlight just a few that I think are particularly important as we are all being asked more and more to listen deeply to one another in a changing world. The first, having the desire and time. The first consideration will always be, do you have the time and, more importantly, the desire to listen? You can't fake it, and you may do more harm than good if you try. Be honest with yourself and others. If you can't or don't want to listen on a level that someone needs, they need to know that, with kindness, but also with clarity. Remembering that being listened to is most important. If you do have the time and desire, the most important part of listening is just that, listening. If you're in the position of listening, it's crucial to remember that the person being listened to is the most important in the moment. It's a kind of trust that is important to the listening relationship. Listening without fixing. Listening isn't problem solving. I will always appreciate how much this was emphasized throughout seminary. We are very clearly taught that as clergy or chaplains and people who are entrusted with the most vulnerable feelings of those who come to us, we can't take responsibility for outcomes. There is no blueprint or roadmap or instruction book that we can offer to fix other people. Listening means receiving what someone is bringing you. Silence is golden, platinum even. It's okay to let a moment land. Filling space with chatter rarely helps anyone. Some people process more slowly or may need time to gather themselves. Listening is creating space for someone and that precious space is sometimes in the breath between words. Not hurting yourself. Don't go deeper than you can navigate. Folks have a lot going on, and you have a lot going on. Be aware of this and recognize when you can no longer touch bottom. If you're out of your depth, understand that being able to let someone know that is an act of both self-survival as well as helping the person you're listening to. The last thing you want to do is engage someone in a way that may be harmful. Exit strategy. Understand that the listening will come to an end. Set some internal or time-based boundaries on how you engage. It's okay. You aren't listening to be a savior, I hope. And you have to have something left for yourself. Part of a good exit strategy from deep listening also includes how you will make space for yourself to process and let go of what you've heard. You can't carry everything everyone shares with you all the time. I learned a great deal about this as a massage therapist when I discovered that every body I was in contact with had energy that would connect to my energy during a session. I found that I needed to create a strategy that not only helped me end the session, but also a physical practice that let me put the other energy down. I may have been a terrible waiter, but I was a very successful and happy massage therapist. Why was I a bad waiter? Because I cared too much and because I hadn't really learned any of these strategies yet. I was seeking validation from every customer and massively over-anticipating everything they may have wanted. I was invasive to their experience and needy. Above all, I didn't listen to what my customers wanted. Thank God I got out of that business, mostly for the benefit of restaurant goers everywhere, but also because I had the chance to learn about the beauty of what the listening relationship can be. As we head into the next month and the theme of healing, I want to encourage you all to bring with you everything that you've explored this month around deep listening. If you choose to engage this way, there's no reason for you to ever be as ineffective at deep listening as I was as a waiter. A little self-awareness and a whole lot of humility will go a long way. As you embrace this journey of change and make meaning out of the juxtaposition of great loss with great gains and growth, exercise what you can around deep listening. No one is asking you to be a therapist. That would be inappropriate unless you're professionally trained. And even then, it's important to respect when a professional listener, therapist, pastoral listener, or other is off the clock. But we're living in a time that wants the best of us, and the compassion and shared investment of a society that learns to listen deeply to each other seems like a recipe for something phenomenally good. Listen deeply. How deep? Pretty deep. But not so deep that you can't make it back to shore and enjoy the rest of the party. May it be so.
The lone wild bird in lofty flight is still with thee, nor leaves thy sight. And I am thine, I rest in thee. Great Spirit, come and rest in me. The ends of earth are in thy hand, the seas dark, deep, and far off land. And I am thine, I rest in thee. Great Spirit, come and rest in